Hi guys, I'm back again with some more stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP, who outed her grandma for falsifying DNA results because she claims OP abandoned her. Listen to the story to find out how, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 33 female, grew up not knowing who my biological father was. Mom was a teen mom, and I hold no judgment there. We always suspected one guy, and when I was nearing my 18th birthday, I pursued a DNA test with his parents. He had passed when I was 2, because I wanted to know medical history information. His mother paid for the test through a private company. Myself, his mother, and his father were all swabbed, and it came back that I was her dead son's long-lost child. Everything was a whirlwind after that of meeting family, thrust into road trip events, family gatherings, etc. I'll admit it was incredibly overwhelming, but they appeared to love me, so I made the best of it. I was always treated differently than the cousins, but I assumed it was because they didn't know me as a child. Fast forward 12-ish years, a marriage and 2 kids later, and my husband and I take those Ancestry DNA kits out of curiosity. My maternal side was claiming Native American heritage that I was suspect of. My grandmother and both aunts had taken the test as well. But when my results came back, none of them showed up. In fact, it showed that I was heavily Greek, which confused me. Long story short, my grandmother admitted to falsifying the results. I wasn't her dead son's kid. She begged me to hide it from everyone, especially my own mother and her daughters, and to not find my biological father. Obviously, I told my mom, and we began the search for my real dad. After I found him, he's a fire juggler, and connected, my mother told Grandma she needed to inform her daughters because my uncle was friends with him on Facebook. This whole time, she claimed to want to maintain a grandparent relationship with me and my sons. After she told her daughters, she told the rest of the family I had decided to abandon them. It was like losing her dead son all over again, and I was refusing to let her see my kids and hated the family. I've repeatedly tried to contact her, only to be met with hostility, because my oldest 2 kids miss her and ask why she disappeared 2 years ago. I've also received very heated messages from former family. Would I be the a-hole for outing what she did and letting them know I was never her dead son's kid, and she lied the whole time? I know she suffered a heart attack last year and didn't want to add that. Oh my God, she stole 12 years of OP's life, an unknown random person at the time to supplement her lost son. OP had no connection to this woman, and she falsified a familial relationship. She stole 12 years from OP that could have been spent with OP's real family. This woman is psychotic, and OP should tell everyone. OP has no obligation to keep her secrets. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Infamous Wasabi 9007 says, "Not the a-hole. This horrible woman is not your grandmother. She is a liar who was emotionally aggressive to you for years and years. Outing her is appropriate. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Her prize is having her dishonesty disclosed." Strubaru says, "Not the a-hole. If she hadn't told other people, you would be an a-hole for telling everyone. But since she wronged you, it would be appropriate to correct the mistake." Fanubal says, "Not the a-hole. Oh my dear Lord. This woman stole a child. This was not a case of, poor kid, please come be my honorary grandchild. No, she opportunistically stole a human presented in good faith, and then used that person as a living prop to play act her grief fantasy for decades. How seriously ducked up is that? When you tell everyone, please express concern that they should get Grandma checked. She has been telling monstrous lie after whopper of a monstrous lie, and is so deep in living out a fantasy that her son returned in the form of a missing grandchild that she involved everyone in the family in her fake folly ado." My girlfriend, female 23, and I, male 23, have a bit of a complicated past. We've known each other for quite some time now, as we met in high school. I will admit that back then, at least during the first year or 2 of high school, I wasn't exactly nice to her, but I have since owned up to that. We became better friends in college, and during our last year of it, she started developing feelings for me. I know this because around this point, she became very nice to me and would seemingly always find reasons to be around me. Her friends also point-blank told me that she liked me and that I should make a move. Since I was pretty busy at this point in my life, I never did. Instead, she asked me out a few times. Given that I was so busy, I had declined most of her offers. Since graduating, we've begun seeing other people and became a couple around 3 months ago. She's been ecstatic about this, and basically tells me every day how happy she is with this. But recently, I think she's starting to have second thoughts. Last weekend, several of my friends were in town, so I decided to hang out with them. She really wanted us to hang out on that particular weekend for some time now, since we'd both have time off from work. But when I explained that my friends were coming, she said that it was all right if I spent time with them instead of her. I did, but since then, she seems to have become distant and a bit cold. Yesterday, while I was at work, she came by my apartment. When I got back, she was cooking something, and I could tell she had tidied up the place a bit. I tried chatting with her a bit, but she'd only give short answers and seemed upset. I asked her if anything was bothering her, and she told me that this relationship was nothing like how she had imagined, and that I was being very self-centered because I didn't hang out with her last weekend. She also said that overall, I seemed very much focused on myself versus us, and I'm not entirely sure what that means. I got a little defensive and, probably stupidly, reminded her that she was the one who pursued me. She looked surprised at this and said that was irrelevant now. I then jokingly added that maybe instead of being upset, she should feel privileged that she got herself to the point where she could cook for me. She really got upset with this and started grabbing her things. I told her to stay so we could talk, but she refused and left. I've not texted her since, as I think she would like some space. This morning I got a text from one of her friends just saying, "Wow, you're dumb." Am I the a-hole? More context. For those wondering, I did try to show affection when she was complaining. I tried to hug and kiss her, but she moved away from me and said it was belittling, which prompted me to make the joke. Wow. Well, OP's girlfriend was right. OP is a self-centered a-hole who thinks only about himself. OP needs to grow up, in my opinion. All OP has talked about is how much she liked him. OP never mentioned once anything about liking her back. I'm going to bet that OP didn't say it in a joking way. OP actually meant it, until he saw that she got mad and is now playing it off as a joke. As they say, every joke has a little bit of truth in it. And now let's see if the community agrees with me that OP is an a-hole here. Whole ad 2742 says, "Wow, you're the a-hole." So you're basically holding the "she pursued me" over her head as an emotional self-esteem club, while being simultaneously defensive and rude about the relationship. She asked for the two of you to hang out, and instead you ditched her for your friend. And then when she was upset, dropped a misogynistic joke how lucky she is that you let her cook for you. Newsflash, a-hole, you chose to be in the relationship too. Clearly she got the prize and realized that a giant bag of BS was inside. Hope she dumps you and does better for herself. Cantor Circle says, "So you put hanging out with your friends first, when you know she's been wanting some quality time with you for a while now. Then, when she's upset and trying to discuss the problem with you, you trot out this rank misogynistic joke that she should feel privileged she gets to cook for you. Do you even actually like your girlfriend, or did you just pick her because it was convenient? You're the a-hole." Cranky Kitty says, "What in the what now? You're the a-hole. She was trying to have a serious discussion, and you came out with a stupid pseudo joke. She ain't laughing. Next time someone is doing something nice for you, like making a home-cooked meal, maybe thank them instead of insulting them. It's something you can try with your next girlfriend, as I fear your opportunity with this girlfriend is long gone. Get over yourself." When I got my ex pregnant, her and her family came after me pretty hard to sign away my paternal rights. I'm a tradesman, and she was in university and was not going to end up with a blue-collar worker. I was just some fun. Lawyers got involved. I signed away my paternal rights. I pay child support, and most importantly for me, I get visitation. Well, I guess nature trumps nurture, because my son is like me. He likes the stuff I like, and he is a mini-me. Not so mini anymore. He is 14 and an inch taller than me already. I was always told that if anything ever happened to my ex and her husband, my son would go to her older sister. I was fine with this, so long as I got to see my son on my set schedule if this ever happened. I live a pretty good life now. I just got married last year, and we bought a new house. I have a spare room that my son stays in when he spends the night. Life is crappy, so my ex and her husband just passed away in a car accident. Besides my son, they had 2 other kids. His sister also has 3 kids. So now it's 6 children in the house. Her sister contacted me about maybe taking my son. I was interested since I love him and want him in the best environment. I spoke with my wife and we agreed that would work. My wife is smarter than me, so she said that we would want all the money that was for him transferred to us. Not to us personally or anything, just so that we could administer it. She said we didn't want to have to go asking for money every time he needed something, or when it came time to pay for his post-secondary education. Nope, they wanted to keep control of his money. They said that they felt more comfortable being the trustees for his financial welfare. So we said we understood and would continue to pay child support and have visitation. I talked to my son about it while he was here with me. He said he would like to be with me, but that he also wants to stay with his siblings. I told him that he was always welcome in my home, and that we would make the spare room 100% his if he was going to spend more time with us. My ex's family has been hounding me to change my mind. They say that I'm his father, and that I need to step up and that I can trust them to safeguard his money. My wife and I could afford to take him in and don't really need the money. But we don't think it's fair that we don't get his share of the insurance and estate. It is his, and if he is with us, we should be able to take care of it for him. We don't even care if it gets put into a trust for him, just one that we control, not them. I think OP is in the wrong here. Basically, he is refusing to take his son because he can't get access to his money. Well, that tells a lot about him as a father. Looks like OP and his wife care more about the money than the child. PM me your Labrador says, "You're the a-hole. You're not taking in your son, your mini-me, on principle because in-laws don't relinquish the control of the trust. Of course you're the a-hole. If you were a real father, the trust would be a secondary concern, not the deciding factor." Angry Always 80 says, "First, contact a lawyer. What worries me is that they will use his share to support everyone. So contact a lawyer. Have his money put in a trust. That way, the trust takes care of the money. My guess is the money is already gone. There probably wasn't a lot. Now that the money is gone, the sister can't afford him. But take your son if he wants to come live with you. Stop child support. Make sure he gets to have the life he wants." Witch Literature 438 says, "You're the a-hole. We have a trust set up for our son, and the person who will receive custody of him is not the same person who will be the trustee. They will have to work with the trustee to agree upon reasonable disbursements for the care and maintenance of the child. Everything will have to be documented, and there are annual filing requirements to ensure that everyone is acting in the best interest of the child. This is standard practice for estate law to mitigate potential conflicts of interest. Your reason for not taking in your son is horribly flawed." I, 29 female, have a half-brother, James, 37. James is married to Lindsay, 35, and they have 2 kids, 4 female and 2 male. I invited James, Lindsay, and the kids to visit me this past week, and they were meant to stay until next Friday. Lindsay and I have always got on fine, except for the fact that she's always had a weird attitude to me being a stay-at-home wife, mom. She always asks if I'm going to ask my husband before making non-essential purchases, or asks me if I feel bad relaxing while he's working, or suggests I do things for him as a thank you to him, since I'm apparently not doing anything else. I know that James and Lindsay are big on splitting costs, and while he pays for everything for both kids, he won't pay for Lindsay, despite making about 25 times her salary. Being that that's the relationship they're happy with, I just roll with the comments because my marriage must look weird to Lindsay. However, there is a line. A few days ago, we were sitting on our rooftop, drinking wine after the kids went to bed. Lindsay was admiring the view and made a comment about how much our apartment cost. James must have told her, and asked if my name was on the deed. She then said, "Half of X amount, penthouse just for lying on your back. S work is way more lucrative than I thought." Both my husband and James laid into her for the comment. I was obviously furious, and told Lindsay first thing in the morning she had to get out. She wasn't staying here after speaking to me like that, especially when she wasn't even apologetic. I felt bad ruining James and the kids' trip, but both my husband and I were too angry to have Lindsay there. The next morning, Lindsay asked if she could stay. She said James wasn't willing to end the trip early and wanted to stay, but she couldn't afford to stay in a local hotel. She blamed her comment on the wine, but her explanation, seemed so insincere and was clearly based on having no choice. I told her this and said even if she did mean it, I just needed some space from her and didn't want her around after what she said, because when put on top of what she's been saying for years, it's obvious that's what she thinks. James then said he wasn't paying for her hotel because it was her own actions that got her kicked out, and she would have to fly home early, and he'd fly back with the kids as planned, which is what happened. Lindsay has since laid into me over text and social media for forcing her to go home early without her kids. Both my mother and James's have said I was wrong for kicking Lindsay out. James's mother said I should have just let her stay for James's sake and not invited them back. My mother says I should have kicked all of them out because now Lindsay has to be away from her kids. I don't think I'm the a-hole for kicking out the person who made the comment, but not the person who defended me and innocent kids. Did I handle it like an a-hole? Remote Broccoli says, because it was her own actions that got her kicked out. There, this, and that. This is all that is needed, and that is all that needed to be said. She accused you of being an S-worker, and while there's nothing wrong with being one, it's not something you say to the innkeepers while you travel. She disrespected you, your husband, and your home, so you threw her out. Good riddance to bad rubbish, not the a-hole. Sugar Lumpy 6653 says, not the a-hole. Lindsay has been jealous of your life for quite some time already. She was just wanting to be snarky at some time. She is too immature to understand that she is projecting her resentment towards James for their fiscal relationship, unrealistically onto you. It's good to hear that James didn't let this slide, regardless of her being his wife. You need to let James's mother know that this was not an isolated incident, and was simply the flashpoint in a long series of snarky remarks. And if James really wanted her to stay, James needed to spend money for the hotel. You've already been generous enough in offering to host them. Leading Knowledge 712 says, not the a-hole. She ducked around and found out. I wouldn't allow her in my home either. Also, if she has her own finances that are independent of those of her husband, she can pay for a hotel without his help, right? It's ironic that the very thing she accused you of doing is now a problem for her.